We're about to dive into one of history's greatest, and frankly, most terrifying mysteries: the sudden, violent, and almost complete collapse of civilization around 1200 BCE. But here's the thing: this isn't just some dusty old story. It's a powerful warning about our own, deeply interconnected world. And this, right here, is the question that's going to hang over our entire discussion. You see, over 3,000 years ago, a thriving, globalized world, one that might look surprisingly familiar to us, just vanished. And figuring out how that happened is more relevant today than ever before. So before we get to the disaster, you really have to appreciate what was lost. We tend to think of globalization as a recent thing, right? But the Late Bronze Age, that was the first great international age. It was an incredibly complex and interconnected world. Let's put a pin in this state, around 1200 BCE. At this moment, this vibrant world is at its absolute peak. It's this amazing web of empires, trade, culture, and it's standing right on the edge of a cliff it has no idea is there. I mean, the scale of this world was just incredible. You've got massive empires like the Hittites up in modern-day Turkey and the New Kingdom of Egypt. You have the Mycenaean palace kingdoms from Greek legend, yeah, the ones from the Trojan War stories. And listen, these were not primitive societies. They had writing, they had complex bureaucracies, and they had these huge, bustling port cities like Ugarit, where goods, people, and ideas from all over the known world mixed. It was, for sure, the first great globalized age. And then it all just fell apart. The end of this world is like a giant, cold case file, a historical whodunit. And for well over a century, historians have been playing detective, trying to figure out what or who was the killer. And here's the part that is just mind-boggling: the speed. We're talking about a collapse that happened within a single lifetime. In maybe just 50 years, this entire international system completely disintegrated. Empires fell, cities were burned to ash, and entire ways of life just disappeared from the map. So that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? How could something so big, so sophisticated, so powerful just stop working? For a very long time, everybody was looking for that one single answer. For years, suspect number one was this mysterious group known from Egyptian records as the Sea Peoples. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? These guys supposedly swept across the Mediterranean, attacking cities, and even went toe-to-toe with the pharaoh's armies. So were they the culprits? Or maybe it was Mother Nature. Archaeologists have found evidence at site after site of massive destruction that looks like it was caused by earthquakes. Not just one, but a whole series of them. A so-called earthquake storm that could have literally shattered the foundations of this world. Then you've got climate. Scientists can look at things like ancient tree rings and sediment cores from lake beds, and what they see is pretty clear. Right around this time, a massive, centuries-long drought set in. That would mean catastrophic crop failures and famine on a scale that's hard to even wrap your head around. So for a really long time, the academic debate was basically pick your favorite. You were either on Team Sea Peoples, Team Earthquakes, or Team Drought. Everyone was searching for that one silver bullet that could explain the whole thing. The problem was none of them on their own could really account for everything. The real answer, it turns out, is so much more complex, and honestly, way more frightening. It wasn't one single thing. It was everything, all at once. It was the perfect storm. And this brings us to this really crucial idea: systems collapse. Okay, so imagine a society that's super efficient, super connected, but has absolutely no backup plan, no wiggle room. It's so interconnected that a problem in one spot instantly becomes a problem everywhere else. Well, that's what the Bronze Age world had become. So let's walk through this chain reaction. It starts with climate change. That massive drought causes famine. Step 2, all those starving, desperate people get uprooted. They start migrating, looking for food, and some of them become raiders. And guess what? That's probably the real origin of the Sea Peoples. Now, just as the system is creaking under all this pressure, boom, a third shock hits. Earthquakes shatter the already strained cities and trade routes. The whole thing just implodes. The dominoes fall one after another. This quote from the historian Eric Klein just nails it. There was no resilience, no redundancy. The very thing that made their world so advanced and wealthy, its interconnectedness, was the very thing that made it so incredibly fragile. Once that first domino tipped over, the rest were guaranteed to follow. So why does any of this matter to us, sitting here 3,000 years later? Because this isn't just an ancient story. It's a chillingly relevant case study. It's a warning. And here is the single most important lesson from the whole thing. Globalization creates fragility. The amazing efficiency we get from a globally connected system comes with a huge hidden price tag, and that price is fragility. When every part of the system depends on every other part, a shock anywhere can become a crisis everywhere, almost instantly. And if you want proof, just look at who survived. It's fascinating. Egypt, which was kind of on the edge of this global network, got hit hard, really hard. But it managed to hang on. And the Assyrians, who were further inland and less dependent on all that sea trade, they were way more resilient and did much better. The ones who weren't as plugged in were the ones who made it through. The parallels to today are, well, they're kind of hard to ignore. They had their interconnected palace economies managing the flow of goods. We have our interdependent global financial system. They depended on a fragile sea trade for copper and tin, the essential materials of their age. We depend on just-in-time global supply chains for pretty much everything from computer chips to medicine. Which brings us right back to that chilling question from the beginning. The Bronze Age collapse shows us exactly what happens when a complex, globalized world gets hit by a perfect storm of crises. It happened to them. And so the real question we have to ask ourselves is, how fragile is our system?